Welcome to the Ideas Foundation Introduction to Digital Art Tools for Teachers and Educators. We're going to introduce 5 digital creative tools that you can use in your classroom to create, to share, to make, etc. So let's do a quick tour of Adobe Express, which is free. I'll click on the top left-hand side on the plus sign. I'm going to go for a custom graphic. I'm just going to look for something that I want to use. I know that I've got a Instagram 1080 by 1080 pixels, and that's just going to give me a blank canvas. I need to add some images, so let's start with photos. I'm going to add a photo. I'm not going to upload a photo, I'm just going to look for a wall, and I've got thousands to choose from. I'm going for this one. As soon as I click on it, it's added, and as soon as I click on the image, I can get to the detail on the right hand side in the properties panel. I'm going to click and drag, and then just drag this out so it fills the entire canvas. Oh, not quite. Let's keep going a bit further. And there we go. So I'm just going to kind of center that up so it looks quite good. That's my background. So let's add some text by clicking on the text button and add text. Let's change this up to King William, thinking about a project based around youth. And let's just drag that out so it's easy to see. I don't really like the font, I want to change that, and I want to check the colour is really black. So I'm going to go to my details of my fonts here, hit the black, check that it is, that's pretty good, I like that. And then let's have a look for a decent font. There's thousands of fonts. I'm just going to choose more fonts, and then way down in stencil, I think the one I really like is called Dirt Storm, so I'm just going to put that in there. It's way too big at this point, so again I can drag from the corner and kind of place that exactly how I want it. Now it's still quite strong, so I've also got this opportunity to drop the opacity down slightly, and that'll allow some of that brick to start coming through, so that starts to look a bit faded and quite nice. I'm going to go for this image simply because it's got quite a messy, not a messy background, but a complicated background. So again, let's place this where I think it's going to fit and get the right scale. I think it probably should be flipped. I'm just going to try and flip the image and see what that looks like. Yeah, maybe drag that in a little bit here. But I've got this background, so I'm going to use AI. I'm going to use machine learning, which is a button here called Remove Background. And that's thinking about what the main subject is and then removing everything that's not the main subject. And that's worked. Even around the hair, that has worked pretty much perfectly. So I quite like that. I do need to work on this image a little bit in order to reduce the colour somewhat. So I'm going to look at some of these filters. I'm going to go for grayscale, and then in enhancements, I think with this I might push the contrast up a little bit and the brightness. So that's looking pretty good. It's quite a nice image. It doesn't really look like graffiti, so I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to drop the opacity so I can start to see some of the wall coming through, but I'm also going to explore some of these blending modes, and I think the one that I really like is multiply, and that means that I'm starting to see one of the layers coming, the wall layer coming through the other image. The only thing that's missing is a crown, so let's go and find a crown, and whatever comes up first I'm going to use. This picture here, it's kind of the wrong size, so the first thing I'm going to do is try and guess size is about there, and also his head is at a slight tilt, so I don't want to overdo it, but I'm going to tilt the image as well so it sits nice and perfectly on there. I need to get rid of the background, so let's use that remove background image again, but this time once it's removed the background, I also want to remove this back part of the crown simply by masking it out as carefully as I can with my mouse. And there you go, that's looking pretty good. It's still not quite the right size, but let's say, yeah, that's okay. Obviously with more time, we could get this absolutely perfect. It's a little bit gold, so again, I'm going to use some of these filters that we used before, make it grayscale. And again, you can explore all of these. Maybe drop the opacity down slightly. Oh, a bit too much, maybe there. There you go, there's my collage. So using text and images to create collage or create graphics, superb Adobe Express tool. We showed a little bit of AI in there, but let's have a quick look at some of the bigger AI tools. So things like Midjourney, Adobe have just released Firefly or DALL-E 2. So you could try all of those, they're all quite interesting. I'm going to go for something that's really super easy introductory level AI tool, and this is Crayon, and that's crayon.com, and it's a text to image generator. So in this case, I'm working on a piece of work where I wanted to look at a photographic image of William I. Now, of course, there aren't any because William I was around 1,000 years, maybe 900 years before photography. So let's just see what it produces for us. So photorealistic image of William the Conqueror. Okay, so there we go. I'm quite impressed with that. Any of these images are now usable. I quite like this image. The eyes are a little bit strange, but it's done a relatively good job. Now I can screenshot that, or I can download that image to use. And for example, if I wanted to use this as part of my process, let me quickly show you how I've put this together in Photoshop. So here's a little Photoshop project about protest and creating graffiti style protest. And I've taken a background image, a stock image of a nice grey concrete wall. I then went and found my different versions. I selected this crayon artificial intelligence image of William the Conqueror. I used a few tools to kind of reduce it to black and white pixels only. I added some graffiti style text, and I kind of then made that whole AI journey part of my actual project. William the Conqueror appearing there, probably like he's never appeared before. Right, let's jump back and have a look at our third tool. So something we would recommend in terms of ideation and creating ideas and really trying to get students thinking beyond just what they know are using tools like Pinterest. So rather than just Google image searching, Pinterest will allow you to find all kinds of images, and then for me, what I love is going down these sort of rabbit warrens where I start to kind of increase the complexity of my search. So for example, I started, so let's go back to the beginning of this. I was looking for, I just put in diversity. I wanted to think about a diversity graphic project. And of course, lots of different images of photographs, of collage, of illustration, of graphics. But if I added other terms into this, so for example, urban graphics, it starts to search and give me different opportunities for what I'm looking for. And I just think this is a great tool for just getting some of those creative juices going. And if I find something I particularly like, quite like this kind of graphic-y image here, it'll start to then look for a lot more other images that I might want to use. So again, I can start really digging in and just finding this kind of monotone black and white graphic comic-y look and feel for something that I might want to be working on. Right, there you go. Pinterest, fantastic opportunities for exploring lots and lots of fantastic artworks. Fourth tool that I want to quickly look at is Padlet, and this is just a really nice way, a very easy way to share work between teachers and students, or between communities or classes. When you start a Padlet, so let's just look at what happens. Let's make a Padlet. I get options to create the type of formats that I want to use, whether that be a wall with sections, so I could break those headers up, or I could just have a wall. Lots of different formats, canvases, timelines, grids, etc. Let's have a look at a version of this. So in a PD program that we're running at the moment, Digital Art will save us. We've got lots of different works in progress happening as we go along. And to upload to Padlet, it's very, very easy. I hit that plus button. I choose a subject. I'm just going to put a test subject in here. I can choose photos, links, etc. I'm just going to find a file. Let's choose the first thing that I can see. I think it's a blank picture. Hit open. It will start to upload, and I will hit that publish button, and you'll see top left there's a nice wooden workspace. If I want to look at any of these in more detail, I simply click. It'll open the picture, and then I can add my comments on the top right hand side. Okay, the final tool I want to look at is called Animate from Audio. It's a beta tool, so that means it might change, it might adapt, but while it's here I would highly recommend having a play with this. It's express.adobe.com, Express Apps Animate from Audio. And this is part of the Creative Cloud app by Adobe called Character Animator, but it's like a simplified, boiled down version. I have characters, I have backgrounds, and I have different sizes. So I'm just going to leave the size as it is. I'm going to choose a slightly different character. Let's go for Steve. I don't quite know what Steve is, but we'll see what happens in a minute. Let's choose a different background. Let's go, it is spring, so let's go for spring. And then all we could do here is record. Now, I'm going to record a little sentence about diversity and why I think diversity is important. So let's just hit that record button. The reason I want to promote diversity in my classes is to ensure that we keep a rich and extraordinarily broad cultural reference point to allow all my students to really gain from all that the world has to offer. Hit done. So now, because this is working on a server, on a computer somewhere else, it's processing that information. And fundamentally what it's going to do is try and match in real time my audio with my character. Now, to actually do this as an animation piece would take a long time. In this instance, I think it's going to be pretty quick. So it's just finishing off compressing and finishing off the video. I now have the video here. I can, it's quite long, I can clip the video down if I want to. Let's just play it and see what we've got. The reason I want to promote diversity in my classes is to ensure that we keep a rich and extraordinarily broad cultural reference point. It was a bit preachy, but it's good too. So here we go. Let's finish off and just do a quick recap. We started by looking at Adobe Express, creating graphics and collage. We talked a little bit about how we can use AI, and the tool that we looked at here was Crayon. We thought about Pinterest as a way of generating ideas and helping us think about how we can broaden our horizons and our viewpoint on what art could be. We looked at then how we might share using something like Padlet. Lots of different tools like this, but we particularly like Padlet. And then we finished with Animate from Audio that allowed us to create characters directly from our own recorded audio. So that was the Ideas Foundation, 5 digital tools to try out in your classrooms. And of course, follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter and Instagram @Ideas Foundation.